I'm Chris Gianetti. I am the Assistant Superintendent here at Jackson Public Schools, and today I am here with Superintendent Jeff Beal to give us an update on the bond. How are you, Jeff?
I am doing well, thank you very much.
Good. The bond passed in 2018. We've been working diligently for 5 years on this bond. So can you give us some updates on what's going on? Let's start with the high school.
So yes, we did. We passed overwhelmingly an $87 million bond in 2018, and in that time we have literally touched every building. And we're putting the finishing wraps on buildings now. So here at Jackson High School, the project started with the Aquatic Center, but that was a couple of years ago, and right now we're working to finish refurbishing the boys and girls locker room, the men's and women's locker rooms, and then we just recently put the wraps on the high school media center, so a complete remodel for our students and faculty there, including Cafe Orange, a student-run entrepreneurial business where students are going to be selling breakfast snacks and creating coffees like any other coffee shop. So it's a true student-run business right here on campus.
Certainly trendy to do that, isn't it?
Well, our kids certainly think coffee is trendy now,
Exactly.
but now it's a really good opportunity. We talk about taking education from the classroom to a career, and we want to give our kids those business skills now so that they're ready for life after high school.
Well, the high school is certainly taking a big undertaking, but so is Parkside. So what's going on at Parkside?
Parkside, if you remember, it was a California campus. It was built in 1963, and it was all these buildings that you walked outside. And one of the big challenges with a building like that is, how do you move it forward into a time right now when students need safe and secure entryways? So what we did was we closed off all of those vestibules, all those walkways between the buildings, so now nobody goes outside. We moved the office location, which was a separate building from the rest of the educational environment. We moved that into the building. So now our administrators are where the students are at. It makes a lot of sense.
Completely.
And then, like I said, there's a ton of work that happened in the science wing. So all new science classrooms, both for 4th Street Learning Center and for Parkside, were part of the bond program. And so we saw that come to fruition out at Parkside.
Yeah, I think the upgrades there have just changed the whole look of the school and made it much more safe and secure, and just a lot of collaboration room too, additions that I think are really important in that level.
Yeah, without a doubt, it gives our students the ability to do more project-based instruction, the ability to spread out, the ability to interact with each other in different ways.
Now let's move to Northeast. So Northeast was one of our first projects, if not the first, right?
Northeast was the first project that we undertook. Similar in conversation, right? We really started with that safe and secure concept. We moved offices that were located in the middle of the building. We relocated them to what was the old pool when it was a middle school. And created a safe and secure entryway. But that building looks gorgeous. If you haven't been in that building, I encourage families to swing by, because it's one of my favorite landing zones. It's got a staff that's got just great chemistry. But the building itself, from a construction standpoint, we were able to really go through refurbished classrooms and like I said, really create that safe and secure entry point right from the beginning.
Yeah, the media center is just unbelievable, and when we started that project and you looked at that building and you thought, how can we move this into 21st century? How can we make this look more elementary friendly, because it was a middle school? And TMP and CSM did an amazing job of really turning that around.
TMP have been great architectural partners in this, and then CSM with the construction. And I should probably talk about construction just for a second. So CSM has been our construction manager. They have wonderful relationships with our local workforce, and of the $87 million, and it's actually closer to $90 million worth of construction, but of the $87 million, more than $45 million in hard construction costs went to a company or business within 30 miles of where we're sitting right now. So,
and that's great work.
and a very intentional trying to invest locally.
Another beautiful elementary building that we have is the Montessori building, but that has kind of an interesting story as to how it got where it is and how things changed and saved us some money in the bond.
Yeah, so remember that the Montessori school started as a partnership with the Felician sisters back in 2015. They wanted to run a Montessori-based preschool program, and it allowed for us to open up some possibilities for a Montessori elementary. We originally started in the old Amy Firth building. And what we found is when we went in and we opened that building up, that both their programming and our programming, the demand was such it just simply outgrew the capacity for that building. So rather than spend bond dollars at that Amy Firth location, we were able to spend or reinvest those bond dollars over at the Bennett School, which is now the Montessori school. And if you go in there, half the building is the preschool run by the Felician sisters, and half the building is a JPS property where we run our own Montessori kindergarten through 5th grade programming. One of the nice pieces with that building is it's also allowed us to pilot an air conditioning model. So one of the things the Felician sisters really needed, because they run year-round programming, was to be able to air condition their spaces, and our buildings just simply weren't built for that. But we were able to, again, with our architects and our engineers, to be able to put air conditioning in that location, both for Montessori, the preschool, and for JPS. So that worked out really well for us, and it may prove to be something useful kind of moving down the road as we take a look at what our other programs or projects might come into.
Yeah, I think that the Montessori program is just busting at the seams, really, and just a wonderful building. And I know that when we started that really was the model for what we wanted our elementary schools to look like. That coloring, the decor, all of those things, and it's really been a kind of little jewel in our bucket there. You know, when we talk about renovated schools that we've covered, there's also our brand new school, which is Cascades, and that really took advantage of something with the ISD too, to save some money for the bond.
Yeah, so we've worked very hard to leverage how we are spending our bond dollars. I want to make certain that we're good stewards for the public's money and that we are getting the greatest use of those dollars. We had about $1 million in our bond to tear down the old Frost building and turn that into green space. Because remember, we had Frost and Cascades Elementary literally in the same parking lot. So we took Cascades all the way down to the ground, and we built a brand new building, state of the art. It is the newest elementary school building in the county. But beyond that, instead of spending the $1 million to tear down Frost, we actually sold that building to serve to the Jackson County Intermediate School District. That will be their central campus, and it will house special education students from around the county, including Jackson Public Schools, who have very severe or high needs. And a wide-ranging needs. So it's not a one-fit program, but it actually will serve about 5 or 6 programs.
And
so,
centrally located too, which I think is a big plus for them and us.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it allowed them to recapture an investment. It allowed us to save some money. But Cascades is a gorgeous building. It's built for about 500 students. Again, preschool through 5th grade. That's one of the changes we really worked on, was to make certain that all of our buildings have preschool classrooms for our partners to work in. So whether it's Head Start or ABC or Horizons or Community Action Agency, they're in there. And so we have those classrooms in our building, embedded in our building, so that those 3 and 4-year-olds can grow into a kindergarten in a familiar place.
And another building that is almost brand new, we could say, but not quite fully renovated, is John R. Lewis.
So John R. Lewis, if you remember, was a building that we closed back in, 1991, 1992, and that was the old Lincoln Elementary School. We closed that building down, and when it came time to reopen that building, and we looked at it and said, this isn't going to be something we can get back up to code. It's not something that will meet today's standards. So that building is about 70% new from the ground up, and it follows a lot of the same lessons, the same template that we used at Cascades Elementary School. And that building opened for the first year last year, so we're wrapping up the second year of that building. And what I really appreciate is that building continues to grow year over year. So you end up with the first year kindergartners now become first graders, and next year they'll become second graders. But in the meantime, we're kind of backfilling that. So you may have started with one class of kindergartners, and the goal will then be to have two classes of kindergartners and then two classes of first graders. So this is a building that really just kind of grows to fill itself out. And my guess is it'll end up somewhere around 250 to 350 students. So it really is going to be a great elementary school in a wonderful neighborhood where we haven't had a school presence for quite some time.
And I know Dibble, we finally got rid of those portables in the back and have a nice added wing. So that's a beautiful setting too.
The portables were there when I went to school at Dibble. That's a shame to say.
That was horse and carriage time, right?
Horse and buggy, you bet. Thanks. But we were able to remove the portables. We removed two classrooms. We were able to add, I believe, 5 classrooms to that location, including a collaboration space. One of the pieces that we learned or we took from Northeast and Cascades, and now we hear about it in John R. Lewis, all of our buildings have got a large group collaboration space designed specifically to foster a different time in education. We know that employers are looking for critical thinkers. We know that employers are looking for workers who can communicate with each other, who can work in a group, who can synthesize answers. And these collaboration spaces give our staff the ability to get out of their rooms, out of the rooms that you and I might think of as typical classrooms, and get into a space where project-based learning, where that type of development takes place so that we can really train our workforce of tomorrow, even starting in our elementary schools. So Dibble is fantastic. I love Dibble, but when you went into it, the lighting was old, the hallways were narrow, we had old cubbies that weren't up to fire code. So there was a lot of work that really had to be done to brighten that building up, to make it feel much like you said, that 21st century learning. And so we really moved that whole building forward. And it was quite a project, but we are again thrilled to be off and running at that location.
Yeah, and I think, as we look at it, we're kind of winding down with our projects, and we have something here at the high school going on, and then we have Sharp Park fully under construction right now, which is probably one of the hardest because of the small footprint.
Sharp Park is a fabulous community, but the interesting thing about that building it is on a little triangle of land, a little strip of land. It's landlocked, and there's just not any elbow room over there. So it's built on a hill. So you have multiple buildings with a huge rise in the ground. So, there's a bridge in that building that connects one building to the next that water flows under. When you think about all the engineering things that we get to do to make this ADA accessible. And so I remember last fall when we were working on this and they were doing parking lot construction and getting ready for the new portion of the building to go up, because there's 5 new classrooms being added at Sharp Park as we take down 4 of the oldest classrooms in the district. But when we were out there, we were literally paving on a Sunday for kids to start on Monday. That's kind of the timeline, and we're going to be right up against it this year too. So the new building portion of the building is out of the ground. The demo of the west portion of the building, those old classrooms, that will happen here like literally the day after school gets out. My guess is that we'll be in the building ready to go for school to start next fall. But we'll probably still be going and putting some trim pieces up, some of the finishing work, some of the stuff that you have to get to at the end, and I'm going to guess that'll probably run all the way through Thanksgiving.
I don't think there's a single person in this district, family, teacher, student, who hasn't been affected by the construction but reap the benefits of it, right? So it's inconvenient, but it gets us to a point where we really want to be.
Well, when we move forward, our parent pickup and drop-off line, which right now is Park Road, that will be much smoother. We do a really nice job at keeping the school bus transportation away from the parent transportation, just so that we don't intermix those kids and we don't have kids running in front of buses and so on. So they exit out onto Horton Road.
And before we finish this wrap up, I think I forgot to mention Hunt. So, I mean, Hunt is one of our buildings that took a major renovation too, in a neat way, because we changed our media center with our offices to make it more safe and secure, and a lot of other upgrades to an old, once again, middle school, right?
Yeah. So remember that these schools were built with the offices kind of buried in the middle of the building. And so, you walked right in and went wherever you needed to go, and the offices were almost an afterthought. Well, that doesn't work in a safe and secure environment. We have airlocks at every location. Cameras are all over the district. You have to be buzzed in to get into the office, and we really look at that office as our business center. So parents, visitors to the building, they come to that office. That's our point of business. And what we had to do, similar to what we did over at Northeast, is we had to move the media center. The library was on the exterior of the building. We had to move that to the interior of the building, so that swapped places with the office. We moved the office into the old media center or library, and all the revamp that went along with that. Obviously, there's construction for classrooms that were improved, lighting that was improved. The parking lot over there was in really rough shape, and so that's been redone. Just a lot of structural things to make that building, reinvest in that building to make it last for a long, long time yet to come.
A lot of great changes there too. So, well, I mean, we're exhausted from just talking about all this work. I'm sure we'll be showing some footage of each of these projects, but it has been a good 5 years, and I think we've got just a little bit more, and then we've kind of made the finish line,
yeah,
right?
We're
or you
gonna
keep promising me that we will.
Yeah, you keep thinking that. We are putting the wrapping touches on this. We are under budget. We've done our due diligence with the people's money, with your investment, and the nice piece about that is it allows us to go back in and continue to do some of those wish list items. There are still more projects than we could ever get to, but we are working on an expansion for South Central Michigan virtual, so that's coming. You see some improvements within the classroom. We purchased a lot of technology for our classroom. You see those types of things that are coming still yet, and I'm anticipating that by the end of 23, we're going to be kind of looking at how we can put all the final touches on this, and certainly in 2024 we'll be all done with the bond. That's going to be a nice feeling, and
you heard it here.
And you heard it here, but really the nice piece of this is that we did exactly what we said we would do when we went out and promised the voters and said, this is my word, this is Jackson Public Schools, we're going to take good care of you and your children. And the investment that our community has made in our schools is transformational.
And we all became Vikings, and I think we've never looked back, and it's been like you said, transformational for this community, and we are proud to work for Jackson Public Schools.
I am very much blessed.
Me too. All right, well, thank you very much for visiting us with us today.
Thank you very much. And it is a great day to be a Viking.
Believe the hype.